and all I remember is being smacked on my right side, being airborne for a moment, and then it was black.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to HOC Podcast. I am your host, Hazel, the producer at HOC Hazel Oliver Creative. And on the podcast today, I have Tasha. Tasha has a really compelling story for us today. About 10 years ago, she was hit by a car. And she also has an adorable cat that we may see within the video if you're watching this podcast via video. And I'm very excited for that. We just saw a glimpse of him just there. But no, she was hit by a car 10 years ago, not another vehicle getting hit by a car, but actually physically getting hit by a car. Just like we see in many action films. So I wanted to talk to Tasha about her experience with recovery and just kind of everything in between. So Tasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So really, I guess the first question I have is like, can you go through what exactly happened? Like, what were you doing that day before getting hit by a car and then also getting hit by a car?
Yeah, so it was just a regular day. I was at work and I went on to my lunch break to go back to the apartment to walk Luna. And
Who's Luna?
after, oh,
Who's Luna?
Luna's my dog. You know Luna. The listeners, she's a Shar Pei. She's now living with her grandmother. But yes, at the time, we were living in Burbank, and I went home to go walk her. And then on the way back, I was probably about halfway back to work. And I at the time my car's gas gauge was not functioning properly, so I never knew when I was going to have gas. Besides, like, the number, there's like a number thing that's on my car that tells me how much gas is in it, like not the gas gauge, but a different thing. Um and so I get to a stoplight, and I'm the first car in the right lane next to the bus stop area, and my car just goes, and I'm like, oh no. And it ran out of gas, and so the light was red at the time, and I was the first car at the red light, so I put my hazards on, waited for the light to go green, and let all the other cars go by. And I keep a gas can in my car just because I'm from the north and in the middle of nowhere, like Western New York. So I always had a
Wait, do
gas can.
Californians not have gas cans in their car? Actually, I don't have a gas can in
No,
my car and I'm not Californian.
no. Most people don't have gas cans in their car, I found out, which I thought was like weird since, I grew up in the middle of the country. So like having a gas can was just something you had. So I got it out of my trunk and waited for no traffic to be coming. And I went in front of my car, looked again, crossed the street, and all I remember is being like smacked on my right side, being airborne for a moment, and then it was black until I woke up on the sidewalk, and there was like people around me, and somebody had handed me my phone, which I don't know if they had already called my partner at the time or if they had me put the number in or tell them like who it was to call. But I ended up talking to my partner at the time and was like, I just got hit by a car, you have to come get me. And then they talked to him again, and then I tried to get up. I'm like, I gotta go back to work now. And they're like, the EMTs were already there. So at that point, I must have been out for quite a while. Like, I didn't think I was, but like I must have been, because the EMTs and the ambulance had already gotten there by the time I was like conscious. Um, and I was like, no, you don't understand. I have got shots to work on. I gotta go back to work. And they're like, yeah, you're not going anywhere. We gotta take you to the hospital. I'm like, okay, well, after though, I gotta go back to work. And they're just like, yeah, no. So I get in, and it's funny because you always see the movies. It's not really funny, but you always see in movies like people's shoes fly off when they get hit. And both of my boots flew off.
Why is that? Did you ever find out why that is?
I'm assuming just the trajectory of like the force and the impact, just like opposites. I have no idea. And luckily, all of my things ended up with me in the ambulance, which was pretty spectacular. Like my purse was there, my car keys, my shoes, like my sunglasses, even like everything. They picked everything up and put it in the ambulance with me. So that was very nice of them. I'm not sure who did that, but thanks to whoever did that, I didn't lose any of my things. Um, so then we get to the hospital, which the hospital was only, I don't know, 5 minutes away, because it was right next to where I lived in Burbank, which was only like a mile and a half. So luckily, we weren't too far from anything. So I get to the hospital, and at that point, I believe my partner at the time had gotten there because we also didn't work very far away, which was another thing. He started a different job like a few months prior to that and then came back to the same job we were both at. And he was like going back through training again. So it was like pretty lucky that he was even in the valley at the time because he was working in Santa Monica
Oh,
prior to
wow.
that.
Oh,
So
wow.
like so him having to get back from Santa Monica, if that was would have had been the case, would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, for sure.
um, so he ended up going, he must have gotten my spare keys from the apartment because he ended up having to move the car because he got gas
Yeah.
in the car. He moved the car and then, had to go move his car
So
back.
was your guest like can in the back of the trunk like empty? So you were gonna go
Yeah,
walk
it
to
was
yeah,
empty. Yeah, so
got
there
it.
was a gas station across the street that I was walking
Uh,
to go to. That would
yeah.
have been good information to tell you. There's a gas station across the street.
So when that was like, were you in the crosswalk too?
Yeah, I was like right in the parameters of the crosswalk.
Yeah.
But there's no camera on the lights, so they never got to see anything actually happen. Um, but they think that it was a stale yellow that the person went through because at that time, like I said, I had already sat there, waited for all of the other cars to pass me with my hazards on,
Yeah.
get the wait to get out, go to my trunk, get my stuff out of the car, lock my car, look again. I mean, that's some
Yeah.
time there. But anyway, so we're back at the hospital, uh, and he's there, and they're trying to like figure out where to put me, and they're like, "We have to cut your pants off," and I'm like, "No, don't cut my pants off." And they're like, "No, we have to cut your pants off." I'm like, "Just pull them off. It's fine. The leg is already broken at this point. Just pull the pants off." And they were like tight leggings from Victoria's Secret, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna pull them off. We have
And
to we have to cut these off."
10 years ago, you're like, no, I like these leggings.
Yeah, and I said to them, "Well, if you're gonna cut them off, can you at least cut them at the seam so I can sew them back together?"
Oh.
And they were like, "This girl is crazy. Like, why is she even like thinking about this?" And they're
Were you
like,
on like,
"Okay."
were you probably on pain meds at that point or just like
No,
straight
this
adrenaline?
was probably straight adrenaline still because no, they hadn't put me on. I mean, maybe they did. You know what? I was probably on something in the ambulance, so they probably put me on something in the. There's a lot of blur. I don't really remember. I do remember that. I do remember saying I need to go back to work and trying to walk away at the accident scene. But yeah, there was a good like when I got to the hospital, I was like in like a waiting period for like 3 to 4 hours that they couldn't even get me into a room because they didn't
Wait.
have a room and they didn't have a surgeon to do my surgery.
Oh, Wait, like I
Yeah,
know
so
there's like long wait times and stuff. I mean, I've been at ERs where there's been, but I figured you're like a trauma patient at that point.
yeah, you would think, but yeah, there was a quite a bit of time where I was just sitting doing that. Like I couldn't eat anything either. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink anything because they were like, well, we're prepping you for surgery, but we don't have a surgeon yet. And I'm like, when are you gonna do this?
Did did they give you like a CAT scan or anything before surgery?
Yeah, I believe they did a bunch of different stuff before the surgery.
Mhm.
Again, everything was like a blur.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually I got into surgery. Um, and that was like I think that they said it was like 6 hours.
I left. I ran away.
Where are you going?
I'm just grabbing water.
Oh,
Really, really thirsty. I'm so sorry. But yeah, sorry.
no, you're
I
good.
needed some water. But yeah, okay. So you were prepped for surgery. Surgeon finally shows up
Hmm.
and you have surgery. Is it just your leg?
Yeah, so I had a fractured skull, but they can't really do anything about that. They just let it heal unless it's like completely like blown open. They just are like, we're gonna watch the because they did there was a hemorrhage that they were like, well, we're gonna keep an eye on it, but also your skull is fractured, but that just is gonna have to heal by itself. And my tibia on my right leg was broken in two places. Which my surgeon ended up telling me later after I went to see him after all the surgeries that he said it was the cleanest break he had ever seen in like a leg break. And I'm like, oh, cool. Thanks. I'm glad I could be an anomaly.
Glad I made it easy for you.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, oh my gosh. Okay, so surgery goes well. How long does surgery take? Like a couple hours?
Well, I know when I had it removed, it
Okay,
took
so you
like
had the that was for the rod, right?
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
I'm assuming it probably took about 6 hours.
oof. So is it like a so the rod is in there, and of course, I went to film school, so I don't know this. But so is there like bolts attaching the rod to your bone then?
Yeah, so they set it in place um behind the bone and they screw it into your other uh, non-broken bones
Okay.
so that it will stay there to heal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Yeah. I agree with your surgeon. You picked a good one.
I didn't
Sure.
actually get to pick him, but yes, he was very good.
The odds were ever in your favor. Okay, so yeah, so you had surgery, you have a fractured skull. They just sort of like heal it. Do you have like bandaged up?
No,
It's
no,
just like
because
hanging out.
there was no um outer
Oh,
it didn't like bleed through or break the skin on the back of my head. There was just
yeah.
a very large bump. Um, I did have road burn on my lower back. But yeah, there was no blood from any of the injuries at all.
Geez. So okay, so you have surgery and then you get out, and then how long are you in the hospital for before you leave?
So I was in the hospital after my leg surgery for a week, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I hated it. I hated every moment of it.
Well, and so if everyone who doesn't know, like Tasha's vegan, and so you've been vegan since you were 13?
Yeah, I'm actually vegetarian now, but yes,
Yes,
I
and
was vegan at the time. I just turned vegetarian about 6 months ago because of health things. So,
yes.
yeah, but now vegetarian. But
Yeah.
yes, I
So
was
V
vegan at the time.
was that hard to be in a hospital being vegan?
Yeah, I ate like, I honestly don't even remember what I ate, but it wasn't like good. I know that soy milk was one of the things that they had as an option. I think oatmeal maybe was another thing.
Like a cup of fruit.
Yeah, fruit. Uh, I I don't know what I ate for dinners at all. I can't even remember. Maybe if they had like a pasta or something that I ate. Their food sucks. The food in the hospital is not good. It's really bad.
I totally agree with that, but because I'm, just like the rest of us are, I'm on Instagram a lot. I've seen people giving birth and they have like this amazing, no, I don't see them giving birth. I see, they're on their Instagram stories like, oh, I'm in
Yeah,
the hospital, I had a baby. And they're in these amazing suites. Maybe they're paying extra, but then they're having like surf and turf, like amazing food.
they must be paying a lot of money because the normal hospital rooms are not giving surf and
Yes.
turf.
Yes. From my experience of being in a hospital, I also agree with that statement that they're not good food. But I was like, well, maybe it's improved. I
No,
don't know.
no. I think at one point my ex, who was not my ex at the time, brought me Chipotle for dinner at one point. But yeah, other than unless you bring food into the hospital, it's not good.
Yeah. I remember like my partner when he went to hospital recently. He's fine by the way. But I brought him, like, the doctor was like, all right, go get him food. And like he gave me a job to do, honestly, probably because I was just really annoying the doctor. And so he's like, the doctor was like, this is your job. Go get him something delicious to eat. And so I went and got him steak and everything because he's like, the food here does suck. So I do know, but I've also seen the opposite where it's really good, but maybe they're just spending money on it or I don't know. Okay, so we don't need to keep talking about hospital food, but I was just curious. Um, so so that sucked. So you had like physical therapy there? Like where they want you to
No,
get back on your feet?
I didn't do any PT. They just wanted me to heal. And that I think they did more scans and stuff. Um, and they were just like monitoring me. They had me like on some drugs, like blood thinners and some other stuff. I never was in a hard cast. They had me just in a soft cast the whole time.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so it was like it was like soft, it was like a boot. Like it had like harder outer, you know what I mean? There wasn't like an actual like bound cast like you normally see somebody have when they break something. It was like a boot cast. Um, which after I got out, they told me I think it was only like within 2 weeks that I was supposed to be putting pressure on it, and I was like, I know when I first heard that from my doctor, I was like, there's no way. I'm not gonna put pressure on this. And he was like, no, you have to start putting pressure on this, otherwise it's not gonna heal properly. And I was like, okay.
So okay. So were you able to though after like a couple weeks to put pressure on it?
Yeah, so my mom actually came in. This all happened in December. I was
Okay.
supposed to be going home for Christmas,
Oh.
but it happened the 9th of December. And so my mom flew in like that night, because mom.
Mm.
Uh and so she was there the entire time for it was like 4 months, I think she was there. But so yeah, the first time I was actually in the hospital twice. And so I was in the hospital the first time for a week, and they released me, and I was home for I think a day and a half, maybe 2 days. And I have I was taking like all the medication that they had me on. So like the blood thinners and the I didn't like taking the pain meds because I couldn't sleep. So I didn't really take them. I
Mhm.
think I took like one or two. I think I ended up with an entire bottle of pain meds that I never ended up taking because I was like, I don't want to take these. Um, and so I must have been home for a few nights because I couldn't sleep. I and then one night I remember getting into bed, and that's all I remember. And I am glad that my mom was there.
Wait, so you remember going to bed and then you don't remember anything until when?
Um, well, let me explain what
Okay,
happens.
okay.
Um, so I get into bed, and my mom had been there, And I guess from what she told me is that I was like screaming, like, and just like swearing. And I was like getting out of bed and like stomping and like trying to like run around. And I guess somebody from the other apartment was started like screaming to shut me the up because I was like being so loud. And then my mom was like, we have to call the ambulance. She's got to go back to the hospital. Something's wrong. And then the fire department, which was literally attached to my apartment, they literally were right next to my apartment, came and they were like, oh, she's just angry. We're
What?
not taking her. Yeah, they refused to take me because they thought I was just, you know, acting out. And my mom's like, no, something's wrong. And so they left. And she was like like trying to fight with them. And they left. And then she ended up calling them back again because I was still continuing to act erratically. And she was like, you have to bring her. There's something wrong. You have to take her to the hospital. And so they finally came back and they took me. And I remember being in the ambulance again, like bits and pieces, going through the hospital, and like they were like having like I heard a bunch of like doctors, nurses, like I don't really know what they were saying. And then nothing. And then I woke up a week later.
Wait, what? Were you in a coma?
Yeah,
Wait, I don't remember this part of the story.
yeah,
So I'm as
yeah,
shocked as the listeners probably right now. So you were in a coma for a week.
yeah. I think it was a week or maybe longer. And I woke up and I said, I have to pee. And they're like, you can pee. You've been peeing this whole time. There's a catheter. And they're like, and I was like, no, I want to go pee. Like, I want to get up and go to the bathroom. And they're like, well, you can't get up, but I guess we'll take your catheter out. So they took my catheter out and they put a bedpan underneath me. And
Yeah.
I peed that way because I was like, I'm not going to pee. I'm not peeing in this catheter. And they're like, you've literally been doing that. But yeah, if my mom wasn't there, I think I probably would have been dead because I don't think my ex would have like pushed to get
Yeah.
me back to the
Advocated for
hospital.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
Oof. So,
yeah,
I mean, let's just talk about your proximity to every single emergency thing you needed was great.
yeah, yeah. It was really good. But yeah,
So,
so I ended up with a like so the blood thinners ended up causing a larger brain bleed, hemorrhage on my brain. So that's why I don't remember anything. And that's why I was acting erratic because it was pooling into my brain.
but okay, so I mean, I'm sure the medical staff were amazing and did everything they're supposed to do, but so they didn't see it on the CAT scan?
I guess not. I guess they just thought that the blood thinners were gonna help. I have
Well,
not. I
because
honestly
I'm
don't know.
assuming because of clotting in your leg, that's what they were probably concerned about with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
But
inducing the blood thinners. But then you
right,
have this, oh my God.
yeah. So they probably should have never had me on blood thinners to begin with, even
Right.
though they were worried about clotting in my legs. But I had a hemorrhage to begin with, so that caused it to bleed more.
Dear God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay,
So
so you
it
wake
was a
up,
Mhm.
and then how long are you in the hospital after that?
I think after I wake up, I they discharged me like maybe 2 days later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, when you were in the coma, like, were you in a coma because, like, your body put you in the coma? Okay, this is probably really stupid for anyone who's, like, listening who knows anything about medical things. Were you in, like, a medically induced coma, or were
I
you just
don't
like, in a
know.
coma?
I don't know. I don't know if I ever got that. I'm sure it's on something maybe, but I have no idea.
What did, like, your mom, like, share about her experience during that time? Like, her child's in a coma. Like, what was she?
Oh, she was freaking out. She thought, I was gonna die.
Oh,
Yeah, she thought I was gonna die.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, not a fun time for her or me. And I'm sure my partner at the time was not having a fun time either because he was still working every day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he was going to work every day.
Oh,
Yeah, at least I think so. Maybe there were some days he didn't go to work, but I'm pretty sure the majority of the time he was still going to work.
yikes.
Yeah,
I'd be like in the room, just like in the corner, shaking, freaking out.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so then you discharged 2 days later, and then are you like visiting the hospital or doctor's offices later to get checked out?
Yeah, so I do have follow-up checkups with the neurologist and uh my um orthopedic surgeon later down the line. Actually, the one time I went to my neurologist, Bern Troyer was there.
Who?
Bern Troyer. He's RIP. Mini me.
Oh, I do know who that is. I'm sorry, I didn't know
Yeah.
his name. Um, oh yeah, I think you did tell me this story before.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like you
I
met
was
him
like,
or something.
oh, I didn't say anything. I mean, we were in a like a doctor setting. I didn't want to be
Yeah.
like, "Hi, can I have
What
a
are you in
picture?
for? Yeah.
What are you doing here?"
What's wrong with your brain? Um, wait, so did the neurologist like say there be anything like did you have short-term memory loss? I mean, now you're fine, right? So like what
I
was
mean, what is fine? What is fine? I don't know. There's probably issues. I mean, I function as a normal human being for the most part, but I don't know. Not what could possibly pop up in the future, but hopefully nothing. It's
yeah,
it's funny to even like tell people this happened to me because most people are like, "What? You look completely normal, like fine, like nothing's wrong. You function totally like day-to-day tasks, everything is fine."
yeah. I
So
do,
it's pretty crazy. It's kind of like a miracle that,
yeah. And then you had the rod removed,
yeah.
right?
So they
So
told
why?
me, well, I could have kept it in forever, but they said if you want to have it removed, you can get it removed after a year of having it in. It just kept bothering me. You could feel the hardware rub against my bone, and it was just really like I don't want to say it hurt, but it was like irritating. So yeah, I wanted it out.
Yeah. And then
It's right here.
can I see it?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait.
So this is my rod, this part here. And then this was this is the hardware. These screws here.
I don't know why I thought it would be silver, but it's black.
It's titanium.
Oh, true. I have that in my jaw. Does that mean that's black too?
Yep.
Oh, good to
Yep.
know. I'm learning all
So
sorts of
they
things.
normally don't let you keep it, but I was like, can I please have this? And they're like, sure. Because they actually recycle it and like melt it back.
Yeah. But you're like, I
Yeah,
paid for it. So
I did pay for it. So I want to keep it. Plus, I wanted to see what it was like.
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's big. So when they took it out, they had to drill a hole through my kneecap to pull it back out. Yeah, so there was some recovery time for that bone to heal, about like a month for the kneecap bone to heal.
Oh my God. Ugh.
Yeah.
I would worry
It's
about like,
like right but like not the cap itself, but like right underneath where your
oh,
shin knee area is
mhm.
right there. They go zoom, pull it out.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross. Um, I can never be a doctor.
I don't know how people are because it's real gross.
Mm-mm. Oh my gosh. So, okay, so that's the whole story. So you haven't had any, so this was 2000, you had the rod out in 2014.
13. Yeah.
So yeah, so accident 2013, rod out
Mhm.
2014. We met in 2015 when you moved to St. Louis. Um, so have you had to see any specialists since then? Nothing?
Nope. luckily, no. I mean, I had migraines and I still do get some pretty bad migraines, especially since I work at a computer and look at a computer all the time. But like the year to 2 years after, they were pretty bad. But I think I'm okay now. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just like the initial like doctor's visits and PT and stuff. That oh well, I only had like at home PT. I didn't really actually ever go to PT,
Oh,
which was
okay. They
another
came to you.
interesting thing. Yeah, they just gave me like papers to do at home. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love PT, so me all the exercises. Um, yeah, so I mean, you're obviously you work now full time, everything else. So, I mean, one thing I do really want to ask, and I feel like listeners are going to want to know too, and just I want to be really honest, like we're not going to talk about the person who hit you at all, and go into that.
Well, that's good because I don't know who it is. I
Well,
still have no idea who
oh,
it
really?
is.
They don't
So
tell you?
I never met the person.
Yeah,
They, I'm sure they know who I am.
yeah. Uh,
But
did
yeah, no, I don't know who it is.
but they like stayed, right? Like they didn't, you know that, like they stayed
I
for the
mean,
accident.
I cracked their windshield with my skull. So yeah, they stayed. They didn't go anywhere.
How far did you fly from the car? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I didn't know if they were like, oh
Nope.
my gosh, you're across the street, or
I mean, I ended up across the street, so I
okay.
don't know. I ended up there was the gas station at the so here's the four corners.
Mm-hmm.
My car's here, and there's a gas station right here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a gas station and a bar. I ended up at the bar when I woke up. So
Wow.
I am assuming when I was hit, I went with the vehicle and then they stopped. And then I probably flew because I was at the other side at the bar on the sidewalk. So either somebody moved me,
Yeah.
which maybe, or I flew that far. But my shoes were scattered across the street. So I'm assuming I flew. I don't know though. Like I have no idea.
Ugh.
And again, there was no cameras functioning on
Yeah.
any of the streetlights.
Were you bruised? Like all
Oh
over?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of bruising.
Oh, gross. No, it's not gross. I just, ooh. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So I guess I really only have one more question, and that's really just to wrap it up. It's like, so I have one question before that is, so when I met you, I feel like you had PTSD about walking across the street.
I still have PTSD about walking across the street.
Yeah, do you just avoid it as much as you can?
I don't avoid it, but I definitely do not jaywalk and I do not like I I will walk blocks to get to a crosswalk. Like I am not gonna not go to a crosswalk.
Yeah,
Like I remember when I started dating my current partner, we were in New York City and there's like a lot of jaywalking and I'm like I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And like he didn't really understand because he had no backstory and then like now he gets it like but at first he was like no we gotta cross now and I'm like no that little man is not walking and that there's a red hand there and I'm not going. I'm not doing it.
you've made me really more careful too walking across the street. So, I think your
This
story is
is an
saving lives.
advocacy. This is an advocacy for everybody needs to go to the crosswalk, walk across the street when the little man is at the light, and look both ways multiple times because you never know. Also, don't trust anybody to do the right. If you think that there's a car coming that's supposed to be stopping and it feels like it's not going to, just just use your gut instinct and don't cross.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that way. I also just don't trust drivers in general, even when I'm driving. And that I
Right.
learned from St.
I feel
Louis
like
drivers.
yeah, I feel like most people have too much trust in other people, and that's just not something you should have.
Yes, yeah, I get that. Okay, so I mean, we can just wrap it up. I don't know what to ask because you were so good at just telling the full story. And you kind of just gave advice. So really, is there anything else you want to add to the story? Anything?
I would say if you're in anything like that, to make sure you do have somebody you know is going to push for you when you can't. Um, because like I said, if my mom wasn't there, I think I probably would have been dead. Because, you know, as much as my partner knows me, or, ex, do they really? Are they gonna be like, I'm not gonna push the authority in this, even though this seems out of place for her character or their character. Um, or just make sure they know to push. I don't know. It's just, I feel like some people know when to do that and some people just will just be like, okay, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna force something. But if they don't, you could end up dead.
Yeah, yeah. I think advocacy is a huge thing. I mean, with some stuff I've had in the past too, it's even just like, I mean, you weren't with it anyway. So, but having another person to speak on your behalf can be really, really
Hmm.
important to be like, this really isn't her character. So
Hmm.
so she just called them back, or did she call
Yeah,
like,
she called them again and was like, "You need to bring her. There's something wrong." And guess what? There is something wrong.
if I was her, I would have called them back, like, just so you know,
Yeah,
there was something.
I think they probably figured that out when they got to the hospital and the doctors were, because I remember them like pushing me in, and even the ambulance. I think the EMTs were probably like, "Yeah, there's definitely something wrong." But yeah, I think that's a good thing to have, you know, a sister, brother, parent, something. I mean, I think that I was just lucky that my mom could be there that long. So otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to think about it because my sister lived there, but she wasn't living with us at the time anymore. So like she wouldn't have been able to know
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah, she wouldn't have been there at night.
Yeah.
Oof.
I don't want to like blame or try and put blame on my ex-partner for any of it. But I just think he just didn't know either. You know what I mean? Like he just
Well,
didn't.
yeah, I mean, it's your mom. I think moms are,
Yeah.
there's that term mama bear for a reason, right? So,
Hmm.
and it's just different personality types at the end of the day, but
Right.
still, also he may have learned something from that situation now too, and so he can
Right.
advocate for more people, which,
Yeah.
is a good thing as well.
It's always better to veer on the side of caution. Even if there wasn't something wrong, at least help was given.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. And
For having me.
is Duncan still there or is it Donut there?
Nope, they're both gone now. I don't know where they are.
I wanted some cat action at the very end of the video, but it's okay. Uh,
No, I don't see them. Neither one of them. They're probably sleeping in their spots.
oh my God, they're so cute. And by the way, for listeners, they are Maine Coons, or at least partially.
They're Maine Coon Siberian mixes. Yeah,
Gosh, they're like huge and they have like mittens, and it's like the cutest thing ever.
they're very big.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Tasha's my friend, so I'm sure I'll be talking to Tasha soon. But thanks for listening, guys. And I'll see you on the next one.